The story begins in a kingdom filled with joy and peace, where love and kindness rule the land. The king and queen of this realm are known for their mercy, fairness, and compassion. They have everything one could ever dream of: wealth, prosperity, loyal subjects. But one thing is missing from their lives. They do not have a child. Every day, they pray with all their hearts for a child to bless their family. And then, on a serene winter night, their prayers are finally answered. A daughter is born into the royal family. The king and queen gaze upon the beautiful baby and name her Snow White. Her skin is as fair as the first snow of winter, and her heart radiates innocence and purity. As Snow White grows older, she learns from her parents not only about ruling a kingdom, but also about the greater truth of leadership. The king and queen always remind her, "Though we wear the crown, this kingdom truly belongs to the people who work for it. When your time comes, you must rule with honesty, truth, and mercy." Snow White absorbs these lessons with all her heart, growing into a compassionate and kind soul, loved dearly by all. But happiness never lasts forever. One fateful day, tragedy strikes. The queen falls gravely ill. Despite every effort, she passes away, leaving Snow White and the king heartbroken and alone. Time passes, and into their lives enters a strikingly beautiful woman. The king, still mourning but desperate for companionship, is enchanted by her beauty. Soon, he marries her, and she becomes the new queen. But unlike the kind queen before her, this woman's heart is not filled with love. Her obsession is not the kingdom, not even the king, but her own beauty. This new queen possesses a strange magical object, a mirror that speaks only the truth. Each day, she stands before it and asks the same question. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all?" Whenever the mirror answers that it is she, the queen smiles in pride, satisfied with her vanity. But the queen's obsession soon leads her down a darker path. One day, while consulting her mirror, she learns that a powerful kingdom is preparing to attack. To protect his people, the king rides out with his army. But he never returns. His fate remains a mystery, and the throne falls into the queen's hands. With the king gone, the queen's rule becomes harsher with each passing day. Her cruelty spreads across the kingdom. Snow White, once a beloved princess, is reduced to the role of a servant, forced to clean and toil like a maid. Years slip by, and soon people forget that Snow White, the true heir to the throne, even exists. As famine and despair spread under the queen's ruthless rule, the once happy kingdom falls into misery point one day. While Snow White is cleaning the palace halls, she encounters a boy named Jonathan. He has sneaked into the castle to steal food. Snow White stops him gently, telling him, "Stealing is wrong. If you're hungry, you can ask the queen, or perhaps the princess, for help. That's the right way to solve problems." Jonathan laughs bitterly, mocking her. "Princess? What princess? There's no princess alive in this kingdom." His words pierce Snow White's heart, for she is the princess he speaks of, standing right before him. Saddened, she quietly tells him, "The princess is alive, and she wants to help her people." But Jonathan scoffs again. "If she is alive, then why hasn't she done anything yet?" With those words, he steals a few potatoes and leaves. Yet his words linger in Snow White's mind, planting a seed of determination. That night, Snow White resolves to act. She approaches the evil queen and pleads with her. "You should care for the people. Use your wealth to ease their suffering. Father always said that every year we must share joy with our people. I remember how we baked apple pies together and distributed them across the kingdom." The queen's eyes turn cold as she sneers. "Those people are insects. They do not deserve such fine food." Just then, soldiers drag Jonathan before the queen. He has been caught again. For his theft, the queen orders his house to be burned down. But Jonathan cries out, "I have no home. I once worked for the king. I and my companions served him faithfully, but now we have nothing." The queen's rage burns hotter. "Then throw him into the cellar, so violently that the walls echo with his screams." Snow White steps forward, horrified. "You cannot do this. Father never punished anyone so cruelly. Mercy keeps people from rebelling." But her words only fuel the queen's anger. As punishment, she orders Jonathan to be stripped of his clothes and left outside in the freezing cold. Snow White, brokenhearted, begins to sing. Her song is filled with sorrow and longing for her parents, and her desire to heal the suffering of her people. Moved by her own compassion, she secretly frees Jonathan. But her defiance does not go unnoticed. Soldiers see her, forcing her to flee. Meanwhile, the queen once again consults her mirror. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all?" But this time the mirror answers, no longer you. The most beautiful now is Snow White. The queen's jealousy erupts into fury. She summons her most loyal huntsman and orders him, "Kill Snow White. Bring me her heart in this box." The huntsman hesitates. He knows Snow White is innocent. But the queen insists, "Do not be fooled by her face. She is a witch conspiring with robbers to betray our kingdom. She must die." Obeying orders, the huntsman follows Snow White into the forest, where she gathers apples. But when the moment comes, he cannot harm her. He tells her the truth. The queen wants her dead, and she must run if she wishes to live. He also whispers that the queen holds a dark secret about her father. Frightened, Snow White runs deep into the forest. Strange, menacing creatures surround her, and the very trees seem alive, trying to trap her in their roots. Terrified, she stumbles until the ground suddenly gives way beneath her feet. Snow White falls into a hidden, magical realm within the forest. Unlike the dark woods above, this world is bright and filled with kindness. Small animals surround her, comforting her. They lead her to a tiny house. Inside, she finds 7 little beds. Exhausted, she collapses across them, and the animals cover her with a blanket. Soon, the owners of the house return. They are 7 dwarfs, miners who spend their days digging for diamonds and gems in the mountains. Entering their home, they are startled to find a human girl asleep in their beds. At first, they panic. Armed with their small weapons, they prepare to drive her away. But when Snow White awakens, she calmly introduces herself. She explains everything, how the queen tried to kill her, how she ran into the forest, and how she ended up here. The dwarfs listen carefully. Their fear slowly turns into sympathy. One by one, they introduce themselves, telling her their names and how they spend their days mining precious stones. Snow White smiles and says, "Now I understand why Father always said the forest was magical. Perhaps he spoke of you." Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen discovers Snow White is still alive. Furious, she realizes the huntsman betrayed her. When she opens the jewelry box, she finds not Snow White's heart, but an apple inside. She screams in rage and orders the huntsman imprisoned. Before his death, the huntsman begs her, "If there is any mercy in your heart, spare Snow White." But the queen shows none. She has him thrown into the cellar. Then she commands her soldiers to find Snow White in the forest at all costs. Snow White, meanwhile, wakes to a new life among the dwarfs. Though they quarrel often and tease one another, she brings peace to their little home. She teaches them to share their work, to whistle while they labor, and to speak kindly instead of fighting. Slowly, she transforms their lives, filling their days with joy and cooperation. But Snow White cannot forget the huntsman's words, that her father's fate was hidden by the queen. She begins to hope he might still be alive. She tells the dwarfs, "If my father lives, we must find him. The robbers in the forest once served him. They may know the truth." Encouraged, she sets out to search. But danger awaits her at every step. Snow White sets out into the vast forest, determined to uncover the truth about her father. The dwarfs worry for her safety, but she assures them, "If my father is alive, he needs me. And if he is gone, then the people still need me more than ever." With courage in her heart, she ventures deeper into the woods. As she wanders, danger stalks her. Branches snap, shadows twist, and whispers seem to echo in the darkness. Suddenly, a hand grabs her and pulls her behind a tree. She gasps, only to see Jonathan standing there. Jonathan had survived the queen's cruelty, and now reappears to help her. He warns her, "Soldiers are searching everywhere for you. If they find you, they will not hesitate to kill you." Snow White, relieved, explains her belief that her father may still be alive. Jonathan's eyes widen, and he nods. "It might be true. I once heard that the king was captured by the enemy kingdom, but I don't know where he's being kept." Before they can plan, Jonathan's companions appear, thieves who once served the king before losing everything under the queen's rule. They greet Snow White with respect, recognizing her spirit. But soon, soldiers discover their hideout. They march forward in overwhelming numbers. Jonathan and his companions draw their weapons, ready to defend Snow White at any cost. The battle begins, but the thieves are far fewer than the soldiers. Snow White, desperate to protect them, comes up with a plan. Sneaking toward the soldiers' camp, she unties their horses. Chaos erupts as the animals scatter. Jonathan and his companions seize the opportunity to fight back and flee. Snow White then climbs atop a mountain ridge, shouting to draw the soldiers' attention. When they chase after her, they fall into a trap, giving Snow White and her allies time to escape. Breathless, they regroup in the forest. Jonathan looks at her in awe. You are braver than I imagined. The people need you, Snow White. We all do. He promises that once he returns from a short journey, they will begin the mission to rescue the king. To seal his vow, Snow White gives him her father's chain, a gift she holds dear. This will remind you to return, she says, but tragedy strikes. On his way back through the woods, Jonathan is ambushed by the queen's soldiers. Though he tries to deny knowing Snow White, the chain around his neck betrays him. The queen imprisons him in the castle cellar, where he finds the huntsman already chained. Meanwhile, in her private chamber, the queen brews a sinister potion. For the first time, her true self is revealed. Beneath her magical beauty lies her real form, an old, withered witch. Drinking her potion, she transforms back into her true shape. Grinning wickedly, she enchants an apple, filling it with a deadly curse. One bite will trap Snow White in eternal sleep. Back in the forest, Snow White prepares to set out in search of her father. But before she can leave, an old woman appears at the dwarf's cottage. The woman, who is really the queen in disguise, offers Snow White a locket, claiming it belonged to Jonathan. He is in great danger, the woman warns. Snow White, desperate to save Jonathan, believes her. Before she departs, the old woman offers her the poisoned apple. Take this. It will give you strength for your journey. Remember, as your father once said, love conquers all. Touched by the familiar words, Snow White accepts the apple. The moment she bites into it, darkness consumes her vision. Her body weakens, her legs tremble. What was in this? She whispers. The old woman smirks cruelly and answers with the queen's familiar words. Snow White realizes too late that the woman before her is none other than the evil queen herself. With a final gasp, she collapses, falling into a deep, death-like sleep. The dwarfs return to find her lifeless body on the floor. Grief overwhelms them. Believing she is gone forever, they place her gently upon a bed of flowers, covering her with blossoms in mourning. Back at the castle, Jonathan and the huntsman break free from their prison, digging through the wall until they reach an underground waterway. They escape into the forest. Animals rush to guide Jonathan towards Snow White. But when he arrives, his heart shatters. Snow White lies motionless among the flowers. Kneeling beside her, Jonathan takes her hand, tears streaming down his face. He whispers, I should have protected you. Overcome with grief, he kisses her lips, and then miraculously, her eyes flutter open. The curse is broken. Snow White gasps for breath, and life returns to her body. The dwarfs cheer, animals sing, and hope ignites once more. Snow White rises and tells Jonathan and the dwarfs the truth she discovered. The queen is not what she seems. She is a witch. She plotted my father's death, sending him to war and ensuring he never returned. Everything, our suffering, our despair, is because of her. Snow falls from the sky, a single flake landing on her hand. Snow White gazes at it and declares, the time has come. I must end this. I will save my kingdom. With renewed determination, she leads Jonathan, the dwarfs, and the people back to the castle. Word spreads quickly, and the oppressed citizens gather behind her. Their eyes shine with hope. They finally believe change is possible. At the castle gates, the queen descends, holding a rose in one hand and a sword in the other. She addresses the crowd with arrogance. Only beauty and power are fit to rule the throne. She burns the rose, tossing its ashes aside. See, only power remains. Snow White steps forward, refusing to fight with violence. Instead, she speaks to the soldiers directly. Remember the days of my father. You were kind, you cared for each other, and life was filled with peace. You served with honor, not cruelty. You can have that again. Moved by her words, the soldiers lower their weapons, laying them down one by one. They choose to stand with Snow White. Enraged, the queen lunges at Snow White. But before she can strike, an arrow knocks her weapon from her hand. It is fired by one of the dwarfs, who has come to protect Snow White. The dwarfs rush forward, uniting with the people. Realizing her power slipping, the queen flees into the castle, racing toward her magical mirror. She demands once more, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all? The mirror answers firmly, the most beautiful is Snow White, and she always will be. Her beauty lies not in her face, but in her heart. She rules with kindness, love, and justice. That is true beauty. Yours was never real. Furious, the queen hurls her power at the mirror, shattering it into countless shards. In that moment, her body also begins to break apart. Screaming, she is consumed by black smoke, her essence trapped forever inside the fragments of the magical mirror. With the queen's power destroyed, peace returns. Snow White is crowned the rightful queen. Her reign begins with joy, justice, and love. The people celebrate, the dwarfs sing, and the kingdom thrives once again. Snow White keeps her promise, to serve her people, to bring hope, and to rule with mercy. Her story ends not with cruelty or fear, but with kindness, love, and the triumph of good over evil. And so the tale of Snow White concludes.